Hello and welcome. English numbers can seem a little intimidating at first. It might feel like you just have to memorize this huge random list of words. But what if I told you there's actually a really simple logical system hiding in plain sight? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and unlock that system. By the end, you'll be able to build any number from 0 all the way up to 1,000 and do it with confidence. So, let's get started.
We're going to break this journey down into 5 simple parts. First up, we'll build the foundation. These are the numbers from 0 to 20 that you just have to know. Then we'll get into the super useful hyphen rule for numbers 21 to 99. After that, we'll level up and start mastering the hundreds. Then we'll take a little detour into what I like to call the great and debate, which is a fun difference between American and British English. And finally, we'll put it all together so you can build any number you want.
All right, let's dive right into part 1, the foundation. Now, here's the good news. The main part you have to commit to memory is this first set of numbers, from 0 all the way to 20. Once you have these down, you've basically got all the essential building blocks you'll need for almost every other number we're going to talk about today. So let's focus here, and the rest will be a breeze. Okay, let's start with the absolute basics, the single digits, 0 through 10. I'm going to say each one slowly so you can really hear the pronunciation. Ready? Let's go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. These right here, these are the fundamentals. Everything else we do today is built on these 11 words. Now for the next set, from 11 up to 20, the first two, 11 and 12, are a little unique. They're special words, you just kind of have to learn them as they are. But then starting at 13, you're going to notice a really clear pattern. Most of these end in teen, which is actually an old way of saying 10. So when you say 13, it's almost like you're saying 3 and 10. It makes sense, right? Let's go through them. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And that brings us to our next major building block, 20. So, while English loves its patterns, it also loves its little exceptions. Think of these as common spelling quirks to watch out for. For example, for 13 and 15, the beginning of the word changes a bit from the original 3 and 5. For 18, we don't write 2 T's, we just use 1. This slide also shows the other tens numbers we'll need, 20, 30, 50, and 80. And the biggest spelling trop of all? That's gotta be 40. Notice there is no U from the word for. That's a super common mistake, so it's a great one to remember. Okay, take a deep breath because the hardest part, the pure memorization, is officially over. From here on out, it's not about memorizing, it's about using a simple, repeatable system. And that brings us to part 2. We're going to start with the hyphen rule, which is the key that unlocks how to form any number from 21 all the way to 99. So what exactly is this powerful hyphen rule? Well, it's actually incredibly straightforward. Anytime you write out a number between 21 and 99 that's made of 2 words, like, say, 21, you just connect those 2 parts with a hyphen. That little dash does a really important job. It tells you that these 2 words belong together as one single number. It keeps things neat and clear. Let's see this in action. Let's build the number 44 together. It's a simple 3-step recipe. Step 1, you start with the word for the tens place. In this case, that's 40. Step 2, you add your hyphen, that little connecting dash. And step 3, you add the word for the unit, which is 4. And there you have it, 44. It's a beautiful, simple, and predictable system. And the best part is, this pattern works every single time. No exceptions. As you can see here, 21 is just 20-1. 32 becomes 30-2. 58 is 50-8. This system stays perfectly consistent all the way up to 99. Once you get this rule, you've pretty much mastered all the 2-digit numbers. It's that easy. We have officially crossed the 99 mark. So what happens next? Well, welcome to part 3, where we're going to master the hundreds. This is where you'll see how those rules we just learned about the tens and units fit perfectly into an even bigger structure. We're really just adding one more simple layer on top. The best thing about the hundreds is just how consistent they are. The rule is as simple as it gets. Just say the digit for the number of hundreds and then follow it with the word hundred. For example, 300. Now, here's a really important detail. The word hundred is always singular. We always say 300. We would never, ever say 300s. Let's look at a few examples just to make it crystal clear. 200 is simply 200.
500 is 500. 900 is 900. See? It's a perfect repeating pattern. Now for the number 100, you can absolutely say 100, but in everyday casual speech, it's extremely common for people to just say 100. Both are totally correct, so use whichever one feels more natural to you.
Okay, now for a really fascinating little detail in part 4. When we start combining the hundreds with the other numbers that follow them, we run into one of the most common differences between American and British English. Now, this isn't a case of one being right and one being wrong. It's just a difference in style, a cool little quirk of how the language evolved in different places.
The entire debate really comes down to one tiny three-letter word, and. In British English, you almost always use the word and to connect the hundreds part to the tens and units part. So the number 101 is said 101. In formal written American English, that and is usually left out. It just becomes 101. But, and this is a really big but, there's an important nuance here. This quote points out that while the formal written rule in American English is to leave out the and, lots and lots of people add it in when they speak. So while 101 might be what you see in a textbook, I promise you, you will hear Americans say 101 all the time in normal conversation. The key is just to pick a style and be consistent with it. We've now made it to our final section, putting all the blocks together. This is where the magic happens. We've learned the foundational numbers, we've got the hyphen rule for the tens, we know the rule for the hundreds, and we've explored the and debate. Now let's combine all of those pieces to build any number we want. This table really does a perfect job of summarizing how the whole system works. For a two-digit number, like 99, both American and British styles are exactly the same, 99. Simple. When we add hundreds, like in 305, you see that little difference pop up, 305 versus 305. And finally, for a more complex number like 876, we use all our rules. The hyphen rule applies to 76 in both styles, and that little word and is the only thing that separates them. This one table really shows you the entire system in action. And just like that, we've come to the end of our explainer. We've seen how English numbers, which might seem random at first, are actually built on a system of pretty simple, repeatable rules, with just a few key exceptions to remember. And that leaves us with a final question to think about. Numbers themselves are a universal concept, right? A language of pure logic. So isn't it interesting that the words we humans use to describe them are so full of unique local rules, all shaped by our own history and culture? It's a fascinating look at how language works. Thanks for watching.
You are doing great. Don't stop. Subscribe and watch the next video.